This week, Love's Truck Stop starts bragging about their expansion in Texas. Tesla Supercharger announced their Q1 results as far as amount of energy delivered, new stalls, things like that. And Pilot Flying J posted some great numbers for the week with 7 stations like this opened just in the past 7 days. Let's get into it. I'm here at the Flying J Travel Center, immediately west Interstate 85 in Blacksburg, South Carolina. I shot a video from here before while it was under construction. It's now fully open. Pilot Flying J had a really good week, so it seemed like an appropriate place to shoot the video. And plus, I was kind of excited to come and see this this station finally open. Starting off, viewer David B sent me these photos of a new Walmart Energy station under construction in Cranberry Township, Pennsylvania, north of Pittsburgh at the junction of the PA Turnpike and I-79. Thanks, David, for those pictures. Cool to see the progress by the very effective and energetic team at Walmart Energy, making progress. Next, 060 has been finding success in the state of California, and recently in Redding, California, a new station of theirs has been spotted with 13 dual-handle charge point dispensers with CCS and NACS on each dispenser. It's right off Interstate 5 in Churn Creek Marketplace in the parking lot of a Save More grocery store. So apparently they can't seem to get enough of the state of California. They've been building stations at In-N-Out Burgers, but this is a very large 13 dual-handle charge point dispenser station getting ready to come online. So look forward to that in Redding, California in the North State. Blink and Kempower have, we suspected, started to form a partnership. About a month ago, we found a station in Colorado, which prompted Kyle Connor to hop in his car and go over and make an out-of-spec bits video of that station, just because of the excitement around Kempower and Blink potentially getting an agreement going, a partnership going. And this past week, we saw Blink post into LinkedIn about their VP of Operations, Jim R., and their Chief Technology Officer, Harmet Singh, visiting the Kempower facility in Durham, North Carolina. Just quickly reading this, it says, reinforce our close collaboration and shared focus on delivering high-performance DC fast charging solutions. We are continuing to expand our DC fast charger Blink-owned and operated network. Every step from production to deployment is guided by a commitment of quality, reliability, driving us forward as we power what's next in electric mobility. And laying on the floor in front of them as they're touring it are a bunch of Blink chargers, so really there's no mystery anymore. We've got Blink doing a pivot to using ChargePoint to some extent throughout their network and new station builds, and it might be exclusively Kempower going forward or just at select locations, not sure, but there's for sure more Kempower Blink owned and operated stations coming down the pike, so keep your eye out for that. As I mentioned at the start, the Tesla Supercharger team announced their Q1 numbers. And before we get into that, quickly going over what they opened this past week, I think it's 9 stations, including the Rove, Costa Mesa, California station. Rove had their ribbon cutting, as I mentioned on last week's episode. That is a 28 stall station. And a 8 stall station in Columbia, South Carolina. And I understand from viewers, this might be a true V4 station. So that's pretty close to where I live. I might go over and take a look at it some days soon. It was under construction last time I was there, just the conduit in place. So if they've completed it, they did so very quickly. But going over some of their numbers, in 2025, they had the busiest years as far as the global energy delivered. And in 2026, Q1 is the busiest Q1 ever. So if they continue on this path, 2026 will exceed even 2025. And people have to remember, we're talking about an EV slowdown and a dip in sales in the United States. There are just under 6 million EVs on the road in the United States currently. So whether or not there's a temporary slowdown in the sales really doesn't matter. The cars are on the road now. We had that banner Q4 2025 year, and Tesla's been grinding away for damn near a decade, and all the automakers started throwing their hats in the ring with all these different models, and a lot of cars were sold. So right now, driving around the roads of the United States are just south of 6 million electric vehicles, all of which need to charge somewhere. And so stations like this are continuing seeing increase in use, and Tesla Supercharger is saying globally 2025 was their busiest years, and 2026 is off to a even bigger start. Specifically, they added 2,500 stalls, which is a 19% year-over-year growth, a 1.8 terawatt hour energy delivered, which is a 22% increase, and they delivered 9,800 Tesla milkshakes. I always like how they had those quirky numbers. 100% brain charge. So congratulations for Tesla having a very successful Q1 2026, and by all accounts this is going to continue to ramp up. And John Baker Charge mentioned into my private channel a comment that says it's a shame Tesla doesn't update the alternative fuels data center database with their expansions. And I would have to agree, because that's not uncommon where they have a station and then they tack on more stalls after the fact, and that's not easily tracked in the alternative fuels data center database. So he calls out one in Madisonville, Texas at a Buc-ee's, which went from 24 stalls to 60 stalls. And he says there's a couple of others also. Additionally, Sawyer Merritt posted into X that the Tesla Supercharger team exceeded 80,000 stalls globally with the opening of a Tesla Supercharger station in France. 48 stalls underneath solar canopies with a attached restroom facility just opened. Really nice looking station, beautiful. And so they are now past 80,000 stalls globally. The North American market is their largest market, but they also operate in Asia Pacific and Europe as well. They do go down into Mexico also. People forget about Mexico, but Tesla Supercharger team is down there as well. And apparently the name of the town is Saint-Saturin in France, where the 80,000 stalls. So congratulations to the Tesla Supercharger team. Next, speaking about large stations, BP Pulse opened a Gigahub in Michigan, and it is not at an airport. Most of their other Gigahubs are at airports. Some are not, but almost all are at airports in major metropolitan areas. And this one is in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is home to the University of Michigan and also has Interstate 94 running through it. And this particular station is close to Interstate 94. It's at the popular Briarwood Malls, south of Ann Arbor, just off Interstate 94, in the lot of a brand new Harvest Market grocery store. 20 stalls. And initially, we were getting indications that although it was showing open in the Alternative Fuels Data Center database, it was not actually able to have a charge done on it. But subsequently, viewers have been posting into PlugShare multiple successful charging sessions. So I think some of them are still in a commissioning state, but most of those chargers are actually open. So 20 stalls provided by BP Pulse in Ann Arbor, Michigan, off Interstate 94. Now open, new Gigahub. As I mentioned in the beginning, Love's Travel Stop posted into social about 3 new EV charging stations in Texas now live. They are in Natalia, Ennical, and Three Rivers. They are backed by the Love's Travel Centers, and this here is where I'm sitting in front of a Flying J Travel Center. Very similar. Love's is of similar caliber and size to the Pilot Flying J Travel Centers, with canopies, just like I'm under a canopy here. They have canopies, Wi-Fi, mobile to-go zone, fresh food and beverage options, clean restrooms right off the highway. So that's one of the things that's really nice about locations like this. Not only do they have full amenities, but they are immediately off the highway. That's what always gets me with these sites, is because I'm hauling down the interstate. I don't want to waste time. I want to go to the closest place. If it costs a little bit more, a little bit less, don't really care. I just want to get the heck home. And so I'll post up to a place like this, plug in, and off I go. And so Loves is doing something similar. But let me just finish this post up, because they say this is just the start. More locations are coming this summer, and over a dozen EV sites are planned in Texas over the next year. So the state of Texas is in the sights of the Loves EV charging team, with 3 open, more coming this summer, and over a dozen in 2026. Now shifting to Pilot Flying J, they initially announced that their partnership with General Motors and EVgo was going to install 500 stations with 2,000 stalls. They've been making very steady progress, and right now they're at 278 stations open with 1,163 stalls in operation. According to slide decks in their investor relations web page, you can download the slide decks from each one of the quarters. 2026 is supposed to be the year that they make the most progress, and it's been mentioned multiple times that in 2027, next year, they'll be finishing this project up. So if you do the math on that, right now they're at 1,163 stalls. There's 271 days left in the year. That averages about 5 stations like this per week they'll have to do in order to make their mark of about 7. I mean, I'm guessing right now, if you put 700 stations in this year, that'll leave a little bit left over in 2027 in order to finish up. And according to previous guidance that we've received, this year is supposed to be the bulk, the busiest year, and then 2027 is just going to be like a cleanup year. So that would be, 700 this year and 200 next year is about the reckoning that I see, or thereabouts. So that would mean that they would have to put in about 5 stations per week. And some of their stations are 6 stalls, some of their stations are 4 stalls. So when you round all those numbers together, it's about 5 stations per week that we would expect to see out of Pilot Flying J for the rest of 2026. And this week they exceeded that with 7 stations, including this one here that I'm sitting at in Blacksburg, South Carolina, immediately off Interstate 85. And then if you take 85 up to Charlotte and get on 77 and go north, there's a town called Mount Airy, North Carolina, near the Virginia border. And they opened one up there as well. And additionally, Knoxville, Tennessee, which is their headquarters home, Pacific, Missouri, Greenfield, Indiana, Madisonville, Kentucky, and Central Point, Oregon. But specifically in Missouri, it was part of the early batch of build sites for them, and they've been going very steady, specifically around the city of St. Louis, Missouri. Very heavy population or clustering of Pilot Flying J stations in St. Louis. A new YouTuber named Eric operates the STL EV Info YouTube channel. Let's go to him to discuss the Pilot Flying J build in St. Louis. I'm here with Eric, who lives in St. Louis, operates the STL EV Info YouTube channel. Eric, welcome to Out of Spec Bets.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And so before we get started, since you're new to the channel, can you give us a little bit of background on your EV journey and starting the YouTube channel?
Kind of weird. Like, I've been a car guy my whole life, and big enthusiast, watching just always taking in all the data and all the information on cars. But when my oldest daughter graduated high school, we ended up helping her get into a first generation Volt. And that was kind of the first introduction to any electric propulsion. And it was weird because even on the test drive, I was like, I don't want to let her drive. This is different. This is interesting. This is, it kind of keeps me right there.
Like, this is way fun.
Yeah. And that was 2019, right before COVID, which is great. It was perfect for her because she only had a 30-minute commute to college. So the Volt was the perfect car for that. And then a couple years later, we ended up picking up a second gen Volt for ourselves.
I hear a lot of people who got into the Volt brand really became loyalists to it. Even after it got discontinued, a lot of people kept it going for a while.
Yeah, I think GM messed up not keeping it going. It was
right. Yeah, it was a Prius.
Yeah, I know it was
better than
over-engineered and sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's better than the Prius, I thought.
Yeah, it's interesting. The newest Prius almost comes across as a third-gen Volt. Like when you look at the reviews, even the styling and everything, it's like, if they had kept the Volt going, it probably would be right there with the Prius and what they both became. But so then we had the Volt, and really got into liking the EV side of things as well. And then 2 years ago, I was watching Smoking Tire podcast, and Kyle Connor was on and started talking about like road tripping EVs and all their big films. And I'm like, you can do that? I didn't think there was infrastructure. So I started watching a lot of the Autospec videos, and I'm like learning. I'm like, okay, this is a possibility, even though there's not much going on in St. Louis as far as infrastructure. I've got home charging, work charging, and so started the process and ended up choosing the Mach-E for several reasons, but it was the best fit for us at the time with the budget we had. And I love it. Probably one of my favorite cars I've ever owned. And that's a long list.
Yeah. And I just saw that the New York Auto Show Cars of the Year awards was a clean sweep by EVs. And it's definitely, the fever is catching on, it seems, despite headwinds here in the United States. I mean, here in my neighborhood, people across the street went full solar and Tesla, and then just immediately next door, another Tesla popped into the garage just yesterday. And definitely seems to be, anecdotally at least, a lot of upswing in EV interest as of late. At least that's been what I've been seeing. So a couple of things that I wanted to bring you on for. Pilot Flying J had a spike in activity this past week, and one of the areas that they've definitely focused on is St. Louis. But before we get into Pilot Flying J's build in St. Louis, if we could talk about St. Louis just in general, I do plug share sweeps with regularity, and there's so many interstates that cross the Mississippi right at St. Louis, and I wrote them down. Let me just go over these really quick. We got Interstate 70, which connects Utah to Washington, D.C., which crosses right there in St. Louis. Interstate 55, which goes Chicago to New Orleans. Interstate 64, which goes to Newport News in Virginia. And I think it terminuses right there in St. Louis, if I understand correctly, or just to the west. And then Interstate 44, which connects St. Louis to Oklahoma City. All those major interstates, plus several other roads, seem to traverse the Mississippi right in St. Louis. If we could, is there something special about the geography there that makes that advantageous for places to cross the Mississippi?
I think it just goes back to like frontier times and the foundation of the city. I think it was right there. You've got the confluence of the Mississippi and the Missouri. So just all the shipping, and then the railroads come in after that. And I think it just was natural as the city grew and became a major hub, very central to the country. I think it just made sense to, that whole gateway to the West, crossroads of America type of thing.
Yeah. So the infrastructure just started to pile on, and it just became the place to cross the Mississippi, and it's never changed since, apparently.
Pretty much.
Okay. Well, I guess that makes sense. And as I said, Pilot Flying J has been on an upswing with their builds as of late. And apparently 2026 is going to be a banner year for them. But this is the stations Pilot Flying J are operating in the general vicinity of St. Louis. You can see there's a tight cluster on the east side of the river. This one here is Pacific. Is this not Pacific? It's kind of small, hard to see. I'm pretty
small
sure
on my screen too.
Okay, I apologize. I'm pretty sure that one is. And then
it's of the two going down 44. It's the first one just west of the city.
Oh, okay. Then it might be this one here. My apologies. And that one just opened this past week. And so it seems as though Pilot Flying J really has a focus on these. Have you been to any of these stations or some of these stations?
Yeah. I did a video on the three clustered just on the east side of the river there. It's like Granite City, St. Louis, Madison. All of those are new within the past year or so. And then I went, as soon as I saw Pacific opened up, I ran down there. And it was funny because I went inside to ask them about it, and because two of the stalls were blocked off with cones, and they're like, "Oh, it's not even open." I'm like, "Yeah, they're open. They're operational. There's people have been charging." And
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's
active on all. It's active on all the apps. So yeah, they're open. Welcome to.
It's a different team that does the EV charging inside the Knoxville headquarters versus the team that operates the actual facilities. And I find, like you say, the staff inside don't really become familiar with EV charging stations until it's been open and operational for a while. And there's a little bit of disconnect there. Normally, it takes a couple of months before they actually start putting garbage cans and squeegees out by the stations, unless there's a more marquee location or something. But
yeah, and this one had them. I was surprised. Because when I did the one up in Granite City there, they had a squeegee. It was just in a 5-gallon bucket full of frozen washer fluid, but it was there. But yeah, this one had the official trash can squeegees right there by both stations. So
yeah, and St. Louis is very quickly becoming, in my opinion, a EV charging hotspot, because this is just Pilot Flying J, and that's a significant number of stations if there was nothing else. And obviously Tesla Supercharger there is going to fill in a lot of the locations as well. And I have this other map showing all the open EV charging stations throughout St. Louis, also some of the coming soon. And that's a tight concentration. I can't picture another area of the country, except unless you go out to California, that has this tight of a cluster of EV charging. So as an EV owner in St. Louis, does it feel as though that the metropolitan area is becoming more EV friendly in a quick amount of time?
Yeah, it's been the last couple of years, and that's kind of what sparked me to start up the channel, was to get some coverage for all these stations. We've gotten 3 IONNA stations in the past year.
Dang, 3.
Yeah, they're what else is that? Tesla has put in a couple superchargers recently. Walmart is getting ready to open up their first St. Louis area location out in Lake St. Louis, which is about 40 minutes west of the city. And I'm watching that one like a hawk because it's right outside my front door. They're just waiting on a transformer. I don't know. It's been waiting on a transformer for a few weeks now. So,
and it really seems as though things are starting to hit the boiling point in multiple different geographic areas. I mean, Dallas-Fort Worth obviously has been slammed. I shudder every time I go near Dallas-Fort Worth and I am doing a plug share sweep, because I know I'm going to be parked there for 20 minutes clicking on pips. And St. Louis is not far behind. So that middle area of the country, the central time zone, seems to be coming into its own. It used to be a West Coast phenomenon and a little bit on the East Coast, but the middle of the country definitely seems to be getting the love necessary. So what do you see on the horizon for St. Louis as far as some of the new stations? You mentioned Walmart and 3 IONNA. Anything else that we should kind of keep an eye on? I don't know of any other Pilot Flying J that are coming there. I mean, Missouri was one of the early states that had a lot of builds in Pilot Flying J, but I don't know of any additional ones. But man, have they filled in a lot over there. But not just Pilot Flying J, other CPOs. Anything else that we should kind of keep our eye on?
Well, EA just did a couple refreshes in the area at the Walmarts there, so that was good to see. So they got the new balanced chargers in.
I'm kind of surprised they were able to, because I thought since Walmart was doing their own, they weren't going to be renewing the leases. It's kind of interesting to hear that EA was able to do hardware refreshes at Walmart. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's my speculation is I think Walmart pressured them. They're kind of giving them a, hey, get this equipment up to snuff or get out and we'll put our own in.
Oh, okay.
So I think they picked some key locations maybe that they already have good traffic. There's a couple others around here I'm hoping can get refreshed as well, or get the new Walmart Energy put in. But I think Walmart's going to be a big one in the area. They've always had a strong connection to St. Louis. I actually used to work for them, so I understand that side of things. So I think the Lake St. Louis one will be the first of many. I would expect probably O'Fallon, Wentzville, those right along I-70, kind of in a dead zone, to be maybe up next. I keeping an eye out, trying to get some information, but nothing yet. But I expect Walmart to blow up pretty big.
Yeah, well, Eric, much appreciated for coming down to Spec Bits and providing a little bit of color here. It's very interesting to see that St. Louis originated as a juggernaut of infrastructure to cross the Mississippi, and it seems to be sailing on through into the 21st century, holding that title as well. So, Eric, much appreciated for coming on to Spec Bits. Everyone, please go over to STL EV Info and subscribe to Eric's channel. He does great content pretty much weekly.
Yeah, I drop Sunday mornings.
Okay.
Every week. So yeah, much appreciate you having me on here. This has been fun.
All right, cool. Thanks a lot, Eric.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Next, the folks at IONNA have done a community engagement offer where between April 2nd and April 30th, you can collect points or credits in order to be entered into a giveaway where swag is going to be sent to the winners of the contest. And apparently they're going to pick 10 winners. If you go to the giveaway website, you could sign up, and then you have to complete certain social things like follow them on Instagram and go to their YouTube channel and things like that. And when you do so, you accumulate a certain number of tickets or entries into their sweepstake. And then at the end of the sweepstakes, they're going to pick 10 people. It's not necessarily who has the most, but the more you do, it increases your chances of becoming a winner. And then they're going to give away free swag, apparently. And there's an IONNA cooler pictured, so I don't know if that's going to be one of the things they're going to be giving away or not. I see a couple of water bottles and a few other pieces of swag getting given away. So if you're into swag, which I sure am, go to the IONNA giveaway website and begin your process of collecting tickets. This past week, IONNA opened 3 stations, one in Oklahoma City, 6 stalls, which is very small for them, one in Orlando, Florida at a Wawa on Futures Drive, 8 stalls, and then Mountain Lake, New Jersey, also at a Wawa, with 8 stalls as well. Electrify America opened 3 stations this week. It's interesting, 2 of which are at IKEA. So their partnership with IKEA has been advertised and talked about for a while, but now they're actually opening stations. So we've got 2 6-stall stations at IKEA's, one in, I'm going to massacre the name of this town, Conshohocken, Pennsylvania or something, and then Portland, Oregon. Additionally, they opened one of their native stations in Miami, Florida at the Dolphin Mall. If people are familiar with that, that's on the western portion of Miami. So they had a very good week, posting up some good solid numbers. Lastly, Electric Era opened stations clear on both sides of the country. The first one in Orono, Maine, which is north of Bangor, and the other one in Centralia, Washington. 6 stalls at a place called Cozy Inn. Thanks for watching.